You guys told me to scale down my animations because 800 Full HD images are apparently too much for my computer. But instead of redrawing every single frame, the lazy computer nerd that I am decided to write a program that turns the high resolution animations into pixel art. How hard could it be? In a recent video where I started making the world's simplest farming game, I encountered some performance issues. And a lot of you guys left some super helpful comments, and most of you asked the same question: why are the images 1080p in this simple farming game? That's a fair point. My original idea was that the growing plants were supposed to be the main focus of the game, but honestly, you could just scale them down and fit more of them on the screen at the same time. So yeah, the comments were right. But then I thought, if we're already trying to save memory, why stop at scaling down? Why not take it all the way and turn the entire animation into pixel art? This should at least save a lot of space. I've tried pixel art once before and quickly realized it's actually pretty tricky. The hardest part for me was making the drawing actually look like the thing I was trying to draw, but I decided to give it another shot. I used this website called Piskel and started recreating my carrot plant. After about 20 minutes I was almost done, and then I realized something horrible. I now had to do this for 800 images. I had used Blender to generate the in-between frames, so I hadn't drawn everything from my original animation. But here, there's no such feature. 20 minutes times 800 frames, that's a lot of hours. Nope, not doing that. So naturally, I decided to write a Python script instead. First I made a program that simply scales an image down to a specific resolution. With that I could turn one of my plants into pixel art with a single click. But it looked pretty messy. I had to settle for a fairly high resolution, 128 by 128 pixels, because 32 by 32 or even 64 were way too chaotic. But still, it wasn't perfect. I wanted the lines to be clean, you know, just black and white. Here you still can see these gray pixels. So the next step was writing a program that turns every pixel either black or white, depending on the brightness. This part was trickier than I expected and actually produced some really interesting patterns. Honestly, I could have called this my unique art style and stopped here. I think I made a program a bit too complicated, so let's just start over. I was getting really close, but now there was this weird outline around the entire image. And after digging into it, I realized the problem. My scaling script was doing some smoothing when recreating the image. That's great for high resolution images, but for pixel art, smoothing is basically the enemy. So I switched to an algorithm called nearest neighbor instead. And suddenly it looked really crisp immediately after the scaling step. Once I applied the color correction again, the result was basically perfect. I just had to tell the program to let the orange pixels through as well, and here we are. A program that turns 2D animation into pixel art animation in just a few seconds. And thankfully, this completely fixed my Godot performance issues. These pixel art images don't flood the RAM anymore. They are roughly 100 times smaller than the original files, which is kind of insane. So what do you think? Does it look good? Is this cheating? Because it kind of feels like it. And if you enjoyed watching me struggle my way into this weird solution, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.